was not involved in the crisis of his time, of him it can be said he never truly lived.
Our similarities are such that my traumas may have come from before combat, but their traumas are so close to the same. It may have nothing to do with combat. It's trauma in general, right? So it's just being human again, and looking back on that and saying, you know, we don't need all these labels. It doesn't matter that you were a soldier. It doesn't matter what you did. It was, you have these traumas, and you're a human. And we need to talk. What would you do if the medical system failed you? If you spent years searching for an answer, only to come up with dead ends? This was my sister Tanya's reality. Diagnosed with a rare autoimmune disease, she spent years fighting for treatment, endless doctor's visits, countless medications, and no real progress. Desperate for a solution, she finally found hope in the last place she expected, outside the US. Stem cell therapy is controversial. Some call it experimental, others call it a breakthrough. But for Tanya, it wasn't a theory. It was life-changing. This isn't an ad. It's a real story, from the patient's perspective, about what happens when you refuse to give up. Mike, tell us a little bit about the DeRose family.
Yeah, I would consider us a typical American family. We tried to be healthy as much as we could, exercise, take care of ourselves. Tanya had some allergies. A lot of people say they're allergic, but it's not an allergy. They get sick or whatever. They don't understand. But she has true allergies to most antibiotics, and we ended up in the ER 3 times with almost anaphylaxis. And so the reason that's important is each time they had to give her an antibiotic, it suppresses your normal bacteria, and you get a fungal infection called thrush. It's a white coating in your tongue. And she started out, she would get thrush. And then she'd have to take the antifungal medicine, and that would go away. So it was kind of a cause and effect. You had to take this for that. And then that progressed into a more serious, reoccurring, every 6-week cycle, to the point where we knew something was seriously wrong. And we had tried all the traditional, been to 4 or 5 ear, nose, and throat doctors, did all the traditional things a family would do, you know, and it came to the point where you could speak to it, how bad you felt and your symptoms. And
I was lethargic. I missed a lot of holidays. I wanted to be super mom, and it was very difficult to get out of bed. And the inflammation in my body started probably first, the weight gain, along with a sore throat, and then thinking that it was strep or something, getting prescribed an antibiotic, going through like what he's talking about, then the thrush. But then when it started to reoccur every 6 weeks for 2 years, when I look back on my camera on my phone, then it was 2022 when I just started noticing that the white stuff on my tongue didn't really add up to what the pictures look like on Mayo Clinic or the different things that you might Google. It looked different. And I felt like even though I was going to 5 different doctors, there was something being missed. And so we did blood work over and over again. And it was considered thrush. And so I got to the point where I was not satisfied with just it being thrush. I wanted more answers. I wanted more clarity. And so I asked our general doctor if he would biopsy it, and he did. And we were kind of surprised when he called us and told us that it was an autoimmune disease. You know the name of it?
Yes, it looks just like thrush, which was the throw-off, right?
Okay.
So she'd still get her tongue coated white, but it's an autoimmune disease, and it's called Lichen Planus. And, there's several people suffering from autoimmune diseases. It's kind of a catch-all phrase in our society when people get so bad, and then they say, oh, it's autoimmune. And then it's like, oh, well, they don't know what caused it, and they don't know how to treat it.
Right. Don't know how you get it. Don't know how to get rid of it. And you're going to have it for the rest of your life.
Right. Which is really scary, right, for the individual and the family. And at that point, we're just like, okay, God, like, guide us, show us what do we got to do here.
So, Mike, you have a background in Western medicine. You're seeing her symptoms. She's describing these symptoms to you on the daily, and you're obviously able to speak doctor to all of her doctors. Are the symptoms so close that they would be easily mistaken, or is it really just what the white coating on the tongue?
Well, it's kind of like when you take your car into the mechanic and you have this knock, and you go into the mechanic and it's not knocking. Every time we'd have to set up an appointment. It'd be a couple weeks out, and every time we went, the symptoms would be diminished or gone. It was like maybe a 2-3 day thing. It was unbelievable. So we were describing symptoms. We had pictures, and of course they just said it's thrush, because
Sure.
That's what they deal in, day in and day out. This is rare, and so it was kind of a combination of things that brought it to a head. And until we, were able, like she said, our primary care physician had seen it several times and knew, and he biopsied it, and, biopsies don't lie. So it was good to know what it was, but then it's like, okay, what do we do?
So what are the options now?
So, of course, like any autoimmune disease, lupus, MS, rheumatoid arthritis, there's several ones, Hashimoto's. Most of the time, corticosteroids is the answer, which they have so many side effects that then it affects the rest of your body. It's just treating a symptom. It's not a cure. And so there really isn't one, so you're just hanging.
So going back to that, don't know how you get it. There is no cure for it that's known. You're just stuck with this, and now we're just going to treat the symptoms for the rest of your life. So basically,
Nothing changes.
nothing changes.
Yeah, you're screwed.
Okay, so going back to Supermom, right? You still have girls that you got to chase after. You still have a life you got to live. You still have a husband that's going through. At the time, was it a hip surgery, Mike, or?
Yeah, we had a difficult year. That's home. I got gallbladder, and then I got sepsis,
And I was required, from my own perspective, I put it on myself to be by his side during that time.
Of course.
And he was, I had to make the decision for him to go to the emergency room, and he ended up septic and nearly dying, and all of that stress contributing to my disease as well.
Sure, autoimmune. It's
Yes.
absolutely. So it's going to affect. Stress is going to affect it.
Yes, I think I had a nervous breakdown.
Yeah.
I was in the bathroom just screaming for God not to take my husband away from me, that there was more for him to do. And my daughters came into the bathroom to calm me down. The doctors heard it. And I think it actually made the doctors even realize, well, maybe there is something we could do. And they ended up putting, what is that thing that they put in your gallbladder? And it started taking out some of that poison.
Yeah.
And because they told us he wasn't going to make it overnight. And so once they put that in him and flew him by helicopter to another hospital, it ended up, he had 11 different surgeries by the time we were done in 6 months. So I was back and forth from Denver, trying to be by his side, listening to his doctors and what they said. He was at 4 different hospitals, 2 different rehabs, sepsis again, back at a hospital, and then trying to also go back home to be mom. And I think my whole body just kind of shut down for a while. And so I took the focus off of myself. I wasn't taking care of myself at that point. But after he got out of the hospital, I was doing intravenous IVs for him, for his antibiotic. And it's a mixture of a whole bunch of different things. And of course, I was touching it, breathing it in, and so I was getting the reoccurring infection in my mouth quite more often.
More frequently.
Yes, more frequently. And after that happened, we got him to where he was better, and the sepsis was gone. He didn't have the infection anymore, and I had an opportunity to go to Mexico. And so I was in Mexico with my daughter, Lexi, and I was still feeling so sick, though. It was great to be on vacation, but I called Mike one night and I just told him, I'm throwing up, I can't go to the restroom, I'm constipated, and I really feel like I just want to die. And of course, he couldn't be there with me.
Sure.
He wasn't traveling at that time. And so then he called a friend of his that had heard about a doctor in Cabo San Lucas where I happened to be. And so it was almost like it was fate for that to happen.
So you're on vacation just trying to get some me time because you'd just gone through so much with Mike, and so you're there to just blow off some steam and some stress, and you get real sick, and the doctor that they're going to send you to happens to be right there in San Lucas. You're absolutely right. It's amazing.
Yeah.
What do you know about this going in, Mike? So, have you guys talked about this beforehand?
No, God works in mysterious ways. So, we have some dear friends, Andrew and Starvey Hill, and they have a daughter, Sweet Ella, we call her. And when she was 2.5, she was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, which is autoimmune. And my friend actually quit his job and devoted his whole life, made a new career. Just for his daughter, doing healthy foods and stuff. And they have a little place called Sweet Ella's, and it's gluten-free and all the other real healthy stuff. And they found, the reason why they found that helped, but they were cruising along, she was getting a little better. He had to wake up early and massage her legs and arms just to get her going on a routine. And he was telling me this story, and then he said, and then we found out about a, I wouldn't say controversial, I guess controversial in the United States, but a stem cell therapy in Mexico. And as you could tell, they would do anything for their daughter. So they went down, and she was about, I think, 10 at this time, after years of going through all that stuff and making a little progress, with diet and
7.
all that. And
She was 7.
7, I'm sorry. And so on their journey, right, and they found this doctor who's one of the leading doctors in stem cell therapy. It's, to me, being West American, oh yeah, stem cell therapy, I have the attitude that most United States physicians and people will be, oh, they just want your money. They, it's like, it's expensive and it's cash and, it's across the border and it's not FDA approved and, things like that. So the normal attitudes as an American and as a person, I had those cautions, but when I heard the personal testimony and I've known them and I saw her, after she got the therapy, it usually takes 6 months to a year to really work, but because she was so young and because so receptive, in a week, there were significant changes. I mean significant, where she couldn't even get out of bed in the morning. You know, the week they get back, the week after she had the treatment, and he goes up, my friend goes up to wake her up, and she's not in bed. She's downstairs. She dressed herself, made her own breakfast, was doing her homework.
Wow, that's amazing.
And, you know, when you know somebody, you know, it becomes real.
Sure,
right? And,
absolutely.
And it's just been a miracle. And I remember him telling me that. And of course, I don't believe in coincidence. I believe God was working through that. And I remember him saying something about Cabo. So when Tanya, that call was, hey, man, you know, I wish I was dead. That's how bad I feel. Is I called him and said, hey, isn't that doctor in Cabo? My wife's down there. He says, yeah, let me give you the number. You ought to call him and see if he can get the stuff in and do it while she's down there. And the rest is history. We did it, and we hooked up with him, and she got the treatment.
Well, so you're hearing about this for the first time. So you're sick as can be in Mexico, and Mike tells you there's a treatment that's experimental, controversial, we would say, right?
Right.
You feel like you want to die. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, it sounds kind of a scary thing, but when you're talking about death.
Yeah, I wasn't scared at all. There was hope. I knew at that time that somebody else had gone through something very traumatic and got better afterwards. And the support that they had from just having a loving family and my husband loving me enough to make that call, you know, it just gave me enough initiative to reach out to this doctor. And it was on a Wednesday. We were flying home on a Saturday.
Wow. And
he got back he asked me my symptoms. I sent him the pictures of, you know, the 2 years of me suffering with my mouth and all the blood vials and, you know, what I was diagnosed with. And he asked to give him 15 minutes and he'd get back to me whether he could help me or not. And he did. And 15 minutes later, he said, yes, I can help you. And he said, you know, give us 24 hours to get what we need. And this is the address of where you need to come. It'll be about a 45-minute treatment. So it was it was through the IV, stem cell therapy. And he told me after I got it done that I probably would be very tired and want to sleep a lot and not be hungry. It was the complete opposite for me. Like
wide awake and starving.
I was, yes, exactly. I was like alive. I was listening to techno music. I was dancing in our hotel room. I wasn't hungry. I was just happy. You know, like even if it was placebo effect at that time, I was just like, there's hope, you know,
Sure.
Because you don't know at that time. It's a 6-month recovery period before you'll really see the results.
Well, and everyone's going to be different. So the doctors need to manage expectations. So it's just like, hey, average people are going to be tired and they're going to be hungry, but you experience something different. So, okay, what was the first week like?
It was great. I mean, even my girls said, Mom, you're different, you know, like
So Supermom is back and
Right.
she's got everything. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I 100% believe in it.
2 weeks.
3 days.
So first 3 days kind of up and down, miserable, and then after
great.
Wait, okay.
Feeling great. And then I had one flare up probably 2 months into it, and we had been at a checkup for Mike, and I asked the doctor just to look at my throat because I did have a sore throat. So to me, I thought, okay, this is a flare up. And I texted the doctor to let him know in Mexico, and he said it's normal. And so then our doctor looked at my throat and he said, I've never seen a more vascular throat in my life, which was amazing to me that they put the IV in my arm and it traveled exactly to the place that it needed to go and cure.
Wow. And that's how far post treatment are we? That was August?
5 months.
5 months. And besides the one flare-up, how's everything been?
Everything else has been great. I'm able to be his rock again.
Awesome. Mike, from your standpoint and Western medicine, what are your thoughts now?
Well, it was more, I did it out of the trusting God that wasn't a coincidence, and going to any lengths and having enough open-mindedness to try something, and I would do anything for her and my family. And so I was very hesitant, a lot more hesitant than her. And, I would not say doubtful, but I was really watching. And then when she had that flare up, I said, and then I thought, here we go, it was a rip off. It was a scam.
Sure.
And, you basically see the guy for 45 minutes and fly back home, right? And he's got a bag of cash. And, so I had those thoughts. But then I thought, no, see what happens. And it's been really unbelievable. And I think you do have to manage expectations. In the 2 cases that we know, it happened faster than what they said, but I do believe it's a therapy that can help people. Autoimmune is something they don't really understand, right? And I think it's a combination of our environment, the food we eat, all the life experiences with her, with the antibiotics and everything, and it comes to a head, and your body's just crying out, and it pops out of something, and you need help, and it's it was amazing. It is amazing.
Oh, it sounds like it, and I thank you for sharing those stories. It's, as you were talking through it, I kept just hearing over and over, like, count the cost to follow Christ, right? And I think back to, pre-2022 when this happened. Where were you in your life? What were you asking God for? Because, he answers us in very unique ways a lot of times. And going through these experiences, right, Mike, we were talking about the experiences in our lives, and it's those traumas that teach us the lessons that we need to know, that we need to push on to others, right? Do you want to talk on that for a minute?
Yeah, I strongly believe it's not our victories and successes that God uses in our life. It's our sufferings, and it's our things that happen to us, our adversities, that shape us, and then we can help others who are suffering in the same way we suffered, and we can comfort those, because we've been through it, and so I think God uses those things to be able to work in others' lives and be of service to others. I can't talk to someone that's lost a child because I haven't lost a child, but I can talk to someone whose wife is so ill, you think she's going to die, and she's can't get out of bed, and how that affects the whole family and your life, and the thoughts and feelings and everything that you go through, and the trust and faith it takes to walk through that. So, yeah.
It's awesome. Sis?
Yeah, he summed it up perfectly.
I think that's amazing. As you were telling the story, Mike, and you were talking about your friend who, he loves his daughter so much, he's going to do anything. It's his daughter. And I'm hearing you say that you'll do anything because this is your wife and you love her so much. It's just like when I love that, man. So thank you so much, guys, for being there for each other and for coming and telling your story. I know it's, a very touching story. People are going to get a lot out of this. We'll make sure and put some details, some links in the description. So if somebody's interested in reaching out for this therapy, they can reach the doctor. So
yeah, he's definitely the leading guy in the world, and his father was too before him. And so, greater love has no man than he laid down his life for his friends, right? Just like God did for us.
Amen.
And that's what we would do for our loved ones.
Yes.
I love it. Thank you guys.
Thank you.